Hi there. So, we're gonna make a beat, a tech house beat, or at least the basic of it. So, let's start by loading a sampler. There's a reason why I use samplers, and that's because you can edit the sounds more. You could, of course, put only the WAV files directly to the DAW of your choice, but it's a bit harder to edit the sounds the way you like. For instance, if you want to shorten the sound, it's a bit harder. You have to worry about the zero crossings and all that, compared to if you use a sampler. You can use the ADSR envelopes to sculpt the sound the way you like. So I'm gonna show a little trick that I use a lot in my production. You should first make a new instrument. In Contact, you just double click this area and a new instrument appears. Then when you open it, you go to the mapping editor, where you see this area where you can drag samples from your library. So let me just grab some kicks. I have this very good sample library called, let me just find it here. It's a mess, I know. Drum Tools 1, which is made by a company called Wave Alchemy. It's wavealchemy.com, I think. And they have incredible sounds, very good quality. I think they have used a lot of outboard gear to sample these from various analog and maybe some digital drum machines. So for instance, when I open the kick drums, there's a couple of different types of kick drums here, and I really like the processed 808. I know you're going to say, oh no, not 808 again, but it's a good basic sound. And there's 34 different sounds here. So let me just grab them quickly. And I'm going to import all the sounds to Contact. I'm just going to drag it to start from C1, like so. And then I can play it from my keyboard, like this. Right. So let's start by making a simple kick pattern. Let me just close this one for a minute. And as you remember, we put the kicks starting from C1 and going, well, there was 34, so going 34 up from C1. So now we can test or find out what kick is best for our purpose in this track. I really like this G1, so let's use that. Right. So let's play this. Yeah, it sounds like a kick drum. So now, we'll go back to the sampler of our choice And as we can see here, this is the note that is triggering. And here we have the ADSR envelope. Which we can edit, so we can sculpt the sound as we like. This is a fairly long sound, I think. It has got a tail that I really don't like, so let me just grab the release a bit to make it a little bit shorter. Yeah, that's good. My tempo is a bit too fast for this song, so let me just adjust it. And 126 is, I think it's okay. So, what then? Well, we will need a hi-hat and a clap. So, I will duplicate this track. By pushing Ctrl or Command D. Like this, and now I have another contact here. But let me just erase these. By deleting the zones. Oh, and one important thing. Always remember to rename these tracks, because after 10-20 tracks, if you only have contact 4, contact 4, contact 4, you are going to go insane, because you don't know which track is which. So let me just write kick here and also here, and let's make it this hi-hat. Well, in fact, we can delete this because it's the same as the kick. And of course, we won't make the hi-hat go the same pattern as the kick does. So I'm gonna choose the same library, the Wave Alchemy's Drum Tools 1. And then I will navigate to the hi-hats. There they are. And usually I only use closed hi-hats for tech house. The open hi-hats are too long, and there's no point on sculpting the sound so much, because if you have already the closed hi-hats, why do the job, you know. So let me just pull a couple of hi-hats here. It's just, I think here is good. Well, you can of course put a huge amount of samples here, but then it's going to get a bit confusing. So usually the couple of octaves is good. Alright, so let's start listening these hi-hats. I'm playing them from my MIDI keyboard here. Oh, this sounds very good. I'm just going to double click here and draw a pattern. Let me just close this one. And the hi-hat of course goes between the kick drums. It's called offbeat. Let me just start this one. Okay, now that I listen to the sound, it isn't very good, in my opinion. So what? Oh, sorry. So what we can do is select the all and just transpose it by 1 plus or minus. It doesn't matter. We have a huge amount of sounds here, and we can just, test it out, which sounds good. Well, not this one. Oh, this is quite nice. Let me just scroll down a few sounds more. This is also very good. This is too classic. Usually in tech house, the hi-hats should be quite short and also not so bright. So that's one thing you should always consider when choosing your hi-hat sounds. Yeah. Let me just put some EQ in here to get rid of all the low noise, which we don't need. So I'll grab an EQ here. I usually use a FabFilter's Pro Q. It's a great plugin. So we have this analyzer which visualizes what frequencies does this sound have. And as you can see, there's something here that we certainly won't need for a hi-hat. So let me just put in a low cut filter here and get rid of those sounds. I'm gonna put this with a very steep curve, so it's 48 dBs, which is 4 octaves. And we can cut it quite high, somewhere around 800 Hz is fine. And then maybe some high cut also, but be very careful with this high cut, because you don't want to have all the energy from the hi-hat cut away. So just some, yeah, around 17,000 should be fine. So yeah, this is what it was before the EQ and after the EQ. It's subtle, but it's there. Let me just put the bass drum back on. Okay, so it's a bit too loud, the hi-hat. I usually mix as I go, at least some part of the track. It's just the way I work. Let me just type in hi-hat there. Let's take this kick for a closer inspection and maybe put some EQ on it also. Yeah, there's too much low end, if it's possible. Well, in this case it is, because humans can't hear this area, so it's quite safe to cut it away. somewhere around 25 Hz should be okay. But the curve should be steeper, because if the curve is like this, the cutting begins at 50 Hz, which is the best range for the kick drum. So you don't want to do that. You have to use the steep curve to get rid of only those frequencies that you don't need. Let me just, 23. That's quite good. And we can boost the frequency or the sound somewhere around 60, because it usually sounds good in the kick drum. It's quite nice. And then all the stuff from the high end you don't need, cut it away to make room for the other sounds you have in this production. Okay, so now we have the kick and the hi-hat. Let's add a clap. Again, I'm going to just duplicate this track to make yet another contact. Let's rename it clap. For some reason I like to use claps more than snares, because in tech house also the snare and the clap aren't in such a key position they are not so important. They are just there to add something to the beat, but they are not, as in some other electronic music genres where the clap or the snare is also very important. So let me just type clap here, and let's take this away because we don't need it yet. I'll open the contact again and delete all the samples. Then just navigate again to the same sample library with the Drum Tools 1, and I'm gonna select a clap here. Right, so we have a massive amount of claps here, which is good, of course. Maybe we should audition some. Yeah, they're very cool. This sounds already promising. So I'll just grab some of them to contact, and and I'll do the similar thing that we did with the hi-hat, that I build the line, which is very simple, and then we can change the sound after that. Right, so claps are going to go to the second and the fourth beat of kick. So this and this, second and the fourth. Horrible, I know. Let's change the sound first. Yeah, much better. Let's try to go with this one, but this needs a little bit work. in order to sit better in the mix. So let me just first shorten it a bit. It's quite short now, but it could be shorter. Maybe some decay. Yeah, much better. I'm just going to type clap here so I won't get confused later. And as for the clap, you should always make sure, well this clap doesn't have a lot of low frequencies, as I suppose. Oh, but it does have some, and you should always make sure it doesn't compete with the kick drum, which is, you know, the main part of the beat always with the electronic music. So again, quite a steep curve, and then you can put it somewhere around 125, 130. So it doesn't affect the energy of the clap, but it removes the frequencies which overlap with the kick drum. Also, I have found that somewhere around 800 Hz, there's this one frequency which really bothers ears. It's this one. Let me just solo it so you can see or hear it. Like this. Sorry. So I will cut it away. Like this. And some high cut also, but not much. Like this. Somewhere around 17,700 is good. And this is because there's going to be some other sounds that will fill so this is what we have. It's very basic. It's a bit boring, you know. So what we can do to enhance this a bit is make it more human. To humanize it. So first I will shorten the notes of the hi-hats a bit. And then I'm going to move them a little bit forward. Now, as you can see, they are locked in the grid. But when I move them a little bit further and remove them from the grid, they're creating a sort of a shuffle feel, or a groovy feel rather. So let me just try this. Yeah, much better. And we will do the same for the claps. Yep. So the kick is the only one which will keep to the grid, and the other instruments are in the drum track will be moved in order to have this maybe more organic feeling to the track or to the beat. we can do is add a little bit of reverb to the hi-hat and also to the clap. I usually use the red line reverb. It's very good. We'll just choose a preset to save time. But it should be a plate or a room. Maybe a room would be better. Yeah, much better. It livens the hi-hat up. It doesn't sound so dull. Now let me just copy the same reverb to the clap. Yeah, much better. Right. In the next episode, I'm going to add some percussion to the track, to the beat, so it will sound more techy and interesting, of course. Thanks for watching.